Today, I'm going to clarify some things. I'm going to take a little bit more time, and I'm clarify some things based on science, based on the reality of what we can observe. Let me go to my chalkboard here, and let me know, those of you who are watching this, make sure that I can be heard. There's something very unique about the real truth that is only taught through this marvelous work and the wonder. The uniqueness is this. Oops, sorry about that. Let me go here and get this right. The uniqueness of the real truth, which is a phrase that we've actually protected, is that it only deals with things that are discernible and can be empirically experienced through the five senses. That's it. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's a uniqueness. As those of you who attend that church would understand, that we don't base, the real truth is not based on faith. That faith, this idea that there's mysteries of God that can't be understood, is what deceives the world and has kept the world in chains of ignorance for so many years and has caused so many problems upon this earth. So the uniqueness of the real truth is that it only deals with things that are discernible and can be empirically experienced. What we can see, what we can hear, what we can taste, what we can smell, what we can touch. This is paramount to understanding the real truth, things as they really are. Now, science, you're going to fight this science. You know why you're going to fight this, scientists? So you think you're so smart? Because you think you're so smart. But none of your theories, nothing that you explain to people makes any real sense. It makes sense to you based on nothing. It makes up based on the idea that everything happened by chance. But there was a big bang, and all of a sudden, from the big bang, everything came into effect. You're not only unable to explain what caused the big bang, but you're not able to explain why the big bang occurred, how it occurred, and how the process of all this creation, all this evolution happened. You can't explain that. And that's where you fall short. And certainly, there's no religion on this earth that can explain those things, because they stop short of even trying to understand them through their observable senses. They accept things by faith. Faith alone. But faith in whom? What is this faith that actually supports both religion and science? And if you think that science is not based on faith, then you don't understand science. Scientists don't know what's really going on in the universe. But on faith, they have faith just like religious people do. These two groups of thinkers and people, they have faith in their leaders, or in their professors, or in their published scientists. They have faith in people, other people who do not know the real truth. They have people who, like them, on faith, looked up into the sky or in a microscope or in a telescope, and they tried to figure things out. They tried to figure things out based on their ignorance. That's what faith is. Faith is based on ignorance. It's how all religious leaders and all scientists obtain a good report from those, Hebrews chapter 11, from those who are joining for the first time. If you think you're a scientist, you better listen, because I'm about to blow your mind, and every concept you ever thought that you could imagine is real. Yeah. So everything, faith is based on ignorance. It's that simple. We see a universe out there. Let me put my universe here. That's why I use a chalkboard. There's the points of light that you see. If you were to travel anywhere in this universe, you could travel as far as you want, wherever you want. You will never find a beginning. You'll never find an end, no matter in what direction you travel. You'll always just see points of light. these so-called clouds that scientists imagine, astronomers imagine, because they don't, their machines and their telescopes can only process certain amounts of light in certain degrees. So they see clouds out there. If you were to see a James Webb Telescope original picture, you'd see no clouds. But when you see a group of whole bunch of lights together like this, a whole bunch of these, it seems like it's a cloud. But if you were to travel anywhere in this universe, you would find the same setup that you see in our observable solar system. You would see these points of light, which are called stars, which are called suns by astronomers. Suns that exist. Suns exist out there, and these are what the points of lights are. But what you see are actually, most of these points of light, of stars, are a accumulation, a concentration of galaxies, many galaxies. It's mind-blowing for those who don't know the real truth. But it's not mind-blowing. I'm going to explain it today, because what I explained yesterday at church, I showed the evidence through common sense and reason that every human being is actually a god, actually a highly advanced human being living on a planet. And they're having this mortal experience through a connection that they have, a actual physical energy connection between what we call their true self. So imagine this universe and imagine this planet. Again, like I said, this advanced planet, I'll use my predecessor, what he called it for certain reasons, Kolob. A highly advanced Earth where actual people live. And I call these people the gods. I call these highly advanced human beings gods. My predecessor presented, as I explained during yesterday's church lesson, that on Earth is also a planet, a solid planet that exists in the universe, and that Earth is not as advanced as this planet. When I say advanced, I'm talking about a planet where the inhabitants thereof control every aspect of it. The Earth is not so advanced, not even close. It could be. It was a long time ago when the proper human beings lived here that could control it, control everything about it. When you understand volcanic reaction, the Earth's core, everything can be explained. And when you understand everything, and the only life form that can understand human being, I mean anything that's observable, are humans. They're the only ones that care. Okay, I'm going to explain the reality of the universe today, and I'll explain a lot of things that I didn't clarify yesterday. But what I did say is that actually your Earth experience here is happening inside the advanced brain of this person here. Again, using my predecessor's information that he presented so in a symbolic form clearly. Michael, the god, in a sleep-like state and dream-like state, dreams that he is this guy here, Adam. And he's put to sleep. A part of his brain where dreams occur, and dreams, this is important to understand this. Human beings have the ability to dream. Their brain has the capacity to dream. I explained that in more detail yesterday when I explained how mortal experience, this mortal experience is actually a dream to your advanced self, that when you die, you'll realize that it was all simply a dream. It's as if you wake up from that dream. Then you start wondering, what the heck was that dream all about? So this capacity of a human brain, and we're talking about humans here, folks, humans. I dare any scientist, any astrologist, anyone to try to confound the things I'm going to explain today. Now, you might not believe it. If you don't believe in life hereafter, if you think everything just came out of nowhere and that human beings eventually evolved into what they are today, well, at least consider this. Okay? If you believe in the Big Bang, if this is your belief and this is what you want to believe, and I don't blame many people, atheists, agnostics, other people for believing this way. I don't blame it at all. But if you believe in this Big Bang and you believe it started the process of evolution, well, the first process, of course, that started is creation. So it was responsible for creation, which led to the evolution of these creations, which eventually led to human beings. And that's fine. That's fine. Because this, according to this theory that you have, this faith that you have in this theory, this faith that you have in these scientists that came up with this idea, because they don't know any other way to explain it, they can't. If you have faith in this, then at least acknowledge that according to your experience, according to the empirical evidence, human beings are the greatest life form possible in the universe. That's all you know. You've never met an alien. They do not exist. The greatest life form. There are people that believe that they exist, but they're no different than religious people. Scientists know that they don't. According to observation, simple, honest observation, the greatest life forms that exist are human beings. That's what we know. That's what we can sense. That's what our empirical data that we can access through our senses tell us. That's what we know. The only thing you know. Okay? So, based on this idea, if this were correct, how could you not believe that there are countless, numberless, and infinite amount of human life forms out there and planets where they exist? How can you not believe that? Because obviously the Big Bang is creating all kinds of things, and the Milky Way galaxy is not the oldest galaxy that exists. Therefore, there were a lot of other galaxies with a lot of other planets, and life must have evolved. This creation process happened, and life evolved, became human beings, and they became advanced, whatever. They became us. But what you cannot counter and argue based on real truth. Again, real truth is things as they really are, not as things as you imagine them, not as things as can be subjected to theory and speculation, but as they really are, real truth, things as they really are. No scientist can argue this fact, that the greatest life form that evolved from the Big Bang are human beings. They can't. They just cannot argue that. Okay? So, with that what the Big Bang shows and demonstrates through science, this is the real truth. The greatest life form possible is actually humans, the real truth. This is the real truth. It's the only thing that anyone can honestly and with integrity accept as things as they really are, regardless if you believe in the Big Bang or a God or what you believe in. Whatever happened out there, whatever's occurring in the universe, on whatever basis, the greatest life form that we have ever encountered is ourselves, the human race. That's it. The greatest capacity, the most complex brain, the ability of their brains. And someday when I explain animals to you, these incredible animals that are created, that can be trained, every single animal upon this planet, including bacteria and viruses, can be trained by human beings. By human beings taking the time to figure out the instinctual protocol of that entity's nature and learning to control it. Yeah, and you'll understand that's why. But there's no animal, no life form upon this earth that we can observe that's ever been that can control a human being. They can't. Now, human beings are controlled by certain hormones and instincts in their body, and that's something that we'll get into another day. Okay? So, let's get to this. So, science, religion, people, let's just go with this, that human beings are the greatest form of life possible. But it never ceases to amaze me that people who believe in God cannot envision that God is a human being, a highly advanced human being. I just don't get that. If we know by observation that the greatest life form that exists is human, and we consider the greatest life form, the greatest entity that exists in the universe, why wouldn't that entity be human? And thus we have these religions. And the one upon which the real truth is based the most, that was manipulated by people behind the scenes to try to help human beings who don't know anything, to try to understand themselves, is this idea of Christianity, of Christ, of God. God coming down in the flesh, doing God's role as Jesus Christ, going resurrecting, living in the universe somewhere as the greatest human entity that lives. Okay, so let's just go on that. So, when I talk about life after death, when I talk about here, and here's my death indicator, a headstone, rest in peace. When I talk about these things, and I talk about this human being dying, what I'm saying is this, that the connection that's made between this person's brain and this person's brain does not occur until the electrical magnetic, if I may, let's just do it with electrical, electrons, until the electrons from this person's brain, and I'm going to go with the only thing that's what science knows. Most of you may not understand these things, but scientists would. The electrons, electricity is simply electrons doing certain things. Electromagnetism is simply electrons moving and causing a force to exist as they move. Okay, electrons from this person's brain connected via something with this person's brain. These are electrons, electronic transmissions, if I may. Then you're going to understand what this is all about. But in the case of your true self, and you rest in peace, doesn't matter if you're scientist, atheist, agnostic, or whatever, you're going to find it out. Doesn't matter. You can argue all you want. When you die, you're going to realize you still exist consciously as a person on another planet, highly advanced, that you are having this experience. Okay? So, often it is talked about in religion as this conduit between this person and this person. In my predecessor's temple endowment, what he did was this: he presented this funny looking hat. Kind of looks like this. Funny looking hat that males wear. This hat. And this hat represents the Godhead, or the true God. God. And there's a string that runs down. Okay, this is a hat that they wear in this temple endowment. And a string runs down to the shoulders of this person, where they have what's called the robes of the priesthood on. And there's 3 distinct kind of ribbons on here that this string attaches to. My predecessor was trying to relate to these ignorant people that God has this, all gods. When you talk about Adam, because according to his presentation, the God Adam, who was Michael, became Adam. And then there was this connection made between the kingdom of God, which is this hat represents, God's kingdom here. This string that hooks onto this robe here to the mortal experience. Okay? That's that connection. That's this connection right here. That's connection that allows the flow of electrons to pass from this person's brain to this person's brain, or vice versa, but mostly it only goes one way. Mostly it just goes one way. This person's electrons pass through here, up through here, and go to this person's brain. I explained that yesterday, why that has to be that way. This person here does not want to be able to control this person, this advanced human. Your advanced self does not want to control your true self, because then it wouldn't be, your mortal self, because then it wouldn't be a true test of this person's brain and what this person desired in this person's brain. Okay, so I want you to understand something, folks, something very important. I want you to understand this dark matter as we get into these concepts here. And let's erase all this and let me draw out my universe again. Before I put all the creations, before I put all these pinpoint of lights out here, let's leave an area there in the middle where there's nothing. And understand that science is correct in believing and postulating that the universe is expanding in all directions. There isn't any direction in which the universe is not expanding. It is always expanding. Always, always. I'm going to solve that mystery today because it's relevant, very important to understand this connection that a human being, a mortal human being, has with the actual person who they are going to recognize themselves as after they die. Okay? So this expansion takes place, this expansion. And what is it? It's an expansion of energy. That's all it is. Dark matter in space is simply, for want of a better way to explain it, dark matter is potential energy. Potential energy. In other words, dark matter consists of everything that would be needed to create an energy flow. And it is in the flow of energy that creates matter. And we can understand this by this simple equation that many people believe is true. We can understand it by this. This energy here equals this mass acted upon by the speed of light, acted upon by something. Okay? Now, in order to get to a mass or to an earth, you've got to change this mathematically to this. Let me tell you how this could be relevant. This is energy. This is a thing. This is a planet. Let's call this Earth. This is a mass. This is mass. Any mass. Earth, anything. Sun can be a gas, liquid, or solid. It's one mass. Energy. Something has to act. This energy has to be divided by something. This power right here. I explained this before. If this power didn't exist, if c squared didn't exist, if this variable in this equation did not exist, then all you would see is nothing. You wouldn't see anything happen. You wouldn't see any energy creating mass or mass being turned back into energy. You wouldn't see it. This has to happen. This variable is the most important thing. Now, whether scientists can accept it now or not doesn't matter. They should be able to accept it. Scientists, listen up. Quit being idiots. Base everything that you imagine, everything that you come up with in your theories and speculations, only on the things that you can currently observe. What you can observe, what you can experiment on. Do not base your theories on something you cannot see, hear, taste, smell, or touch. Understand that. Understand it. Now, obviously, science is going to have a hard time with what I'm going to tell you, which is the real truth. But I don't know how they cannot understand this. This variable in creating energy from mass or creating mass from energy. Okay, this is destruction. This is the destruction of matter. And this is how they formulated this destruction of matter. This is how E equals mc squared was used and postulated during the time that they were creating nuclear weapons, pretty much. And this is the creation of matter. Creation of matter. Right? So this is going to be a little bit hard for scientists because they're not understanding. So just give me a second, scientists, to explain this. This variable right here, this variable in the universe, only occurs, listen again, it only occurs with human kinetic energy, action. It only occurs. Have you ever observed? Now I'm going to ask the scientists this question. I wish I had one we could ask, but they're too afraid even to talk to me because I come up with things that they just think, oh my God, this makes a lot more sense. It certainly makes more sense than God, and it makes more sense than science. This function right here only occurs with human action. Now again, I say, what is the greatest life form that exists upon this earth? In the observable universe that you have, science, in what you can observe, see, hear, smell, all your senses, humans are the greatest life form. We know that humans can do this. We know that humans can destroy matter by applying something to the mass, which will turn it back in energy. We know that humans can do something with energy that creates mass. We know these things. These are matters of fact. This is truth. But without human action, nothing will occur. Nothing has ever occurred. Do you know? Well, we're going to get to that because there are some things. And this is where science has an issue with this because of this. What occurs upon this earth that is the destruction of matter or the creation of matter that humans don't control? Let me give you one example. A volcano. We observe with our senses that there's an incredible amount of energy and mass released by a volcano that humans have nothing to do with. Humans have nothing to do with it. That's what they think. But what they don't understand past dispensations of time where there were much more advanced humans and technologies that actually could control everything upon earth. Volcanoes, tornadoes, hurricanes, all these different things. There was a time upon this earth where a group of humans lived, highly advanced with technologies, that could control these things, could cause them to occur and not to occur. Human action in the past set in motion these earthquakes, these volcanoes, these tornadoes, all these things. I'm going to prove that one day when I write that last book, The Dream of Mortal Life, Understanding Human Reality, the final warning to the human race. But I can't say anything now. I'm going to give those understanding. But right now, as science observes these things, science will say, well, these things are happening. There's destruction of matter and creation of matter. Obviously, a volcano is what? Is it destroying matter or creating matter? It's creating matter. It's creating matter because that's what happens. As this liquid, listen close, here's a clue. As this liquid magma comes out of the volcano as a liquid, what happens to it? It becomes a solid. It becomes a solid. So the idea that I presented yesterday, that I wanted to get into sometime when I talked about this, that only H2, only water can live and be in these two in these three forms is absolutely incorrect. Do you see smoke? Do you see gas coming out of a volcano? Yes, you do. That's a big yes. Do you see a liquid? Yeah, absolutely. And solids? Absolutely. So what is this? What is this magma, if we can call it that? Magma, what is it made of? It's certainly not H2O. It's not two hydrogen. It's not two hydrogen atoms connected to one oxygen. It's not that. Then what is it? Is it? What is a hydrogen atom? A hydrogen atom is simple to understand according to science. This is according to all they know and understand. It has one proton and one neutron and one electron. That's a hydrogen atom. An oxygen atom has 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons. And then they have this thing that I'm not going to go into. Chemists have this thing that is called the octet rule. When you have 8 electrons in here's your atom. They envision, here's a nucleus of an atom, where the protons and neutrons are, right here. Science and chemists have come up with this through their observation, experimentation, certain shells of electrons around the nucleus. Okay, these shells can only have a certain number of electrons in it. This is according to their understanding. And it depends on the number of electrons, which create the number of protons and neutrons. They all acting together create different versions of element. But in reality, all elements, listen close. I'm giving you guys a little bit of scientific information according to the ignorance of science. All elements are made of the exact, look at me, the exact same components. Is everybody following this? Let me know. So far. Yes. Science will tell you that. That's what it is. So let's get rid of all this. So now we're going to talk about this dark matter. What you see here on my board is nothing. You see nothing. But the fact is, what you're seeing is dark matter. Is actually the foundation or the basis or the basic components or whatever. When you start understanding this, you'll see why I put that there. Sorry. I'm dyslexic. I really am. I've got a little bit of dyslexia in me. That's why they chose me. Okay, basic components of matter? No, of energy. Or rather, as we can understand it best, electrons. Because you can't have anything. You can't have protons and neutrons. You can't have, here's an atom. You can't have an atom. You can't have a nucleus of an atom right here. Nor that's made up as science envisions it. They can't see these things. This is what they observe. And they experiment on it, and it makes sense. You can't have these things without the electrons. Okay, you just can't. You can't have these things. And when you understand what all these things mean, all it is a type of energy. These are a negative energy as far as as science understands it. This is a positive, and this is neutral. And they had to throw this neutral. It's hard to keep up with all the information. Love it so far. Okay. Yeah, Brett, hang in there, buddy. Hang in there. I'm laying a foundation for the scientists out there. Okay? So this is what science knows. Most of you who don't understand these things, it's okay. You'll understand this. So the only point I'm trying to make is that dark matter, this space where there's no light. If you could go out there and you could look into space and there's nothing there. But you're never going to go anywhere where you see nothing. You'll always see lights out in the distance. But there are very many places where there's not planets, or there's nothing. When it comes to time and space, this is another thing to understand, because this is what science bases their understanding on. This spectrum, or this metric of time and space. Let me try to help you understand this, because this is very important for you to understand your true self, the Godhead, and how it all works, your spirituality, all this stuff that I've been trying to teach people. Time is simply the amount of time that passes between this point and this point. Okay, this is point A, and this is point B. So if you say point A is the Big Bang, how much time has passed by until today, the present time? That's the time. That's the time quotient. I'm very making it very simple for kids to understand. The space is the space between A and B. So here, for example, if you believe in the Big Bang, you have the beginning of the Big Bang, and then you have these galaxies that, as the Big Bang happens, it pushes things away, and it creates a space between it, the Big Bang, and reality, and our solar system, for example. This is time and space understanding. This is the only way science is able to really observe and understand things. But I'm going to get rid of time and space now. What do you see? Do you see any time? Do you see any space? You do not. All you see is what you think is nothing. But there's no such thing as nothing. There is no place in this entire universe where there exists nothing. What you see, you cannot see anything, because there's nothing there to help you to see it with your eyes, to feel it on your skin, to smell it in your nose, to hear it. There's just nothing there. So, here you are. You're something. Obviously. Do you exist in this universe? Yes, you do. You exist in this universe just like the sun that warms your face, that you can feel, that you can see, that, well, I'm not saying you can smell it, but you can feel it. You can feel with your senses, and your five senses are sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. Which, of course, not just your hands, your entire body, the skin. You can feel things. So you feel things, and the only way you can really exist as a conscious person that are having experiences is if you have this body. Otherwise, there's nothing there. Again, let's say, for example, that you didn't exist, that there was just the sun first. Just the sun. There's a sun. There's a sun. There's a light in the sky. Now, the question is, therefore, and this is what science has speculated, because they don't know the real truth, and that's fine. How did Earth form? How did Earth form? They have these theories. They have these understandings. So, science, you need to explain to us then, because this is where it is. This is, if dark matter is actually the basis of energy, there's energy, the basis of energy. Okay. How did this energy become Earth, a mass? How did it happen? Well, here's your theory, and we're going to go with it for your own sake. This energy, something acted upon this energy. It was divided by some sort of an energy, and it created this Earth. Okay? Because we know this. We know this without a doubt. That this Earth acted upon in the right way, an atomic explosion can completely destroy it. Destroy it. In other words, this Earth, when acted upon in a certain way, and only humans can do that, yes, an atomic explosion that can destroy a city does not happen naturally. What can destroy that Earth is when this acts upon it, and it turns it back in to energy. And seemingly, whatever this is, and when you understand, I'm going to use you just basic things. When you understand what fission is, this is how they created those bombs for Hiroshima. Hiroshima bomb was a fission of uranium 235. They figured it out. They figured out how to create a chain. This is a mass. They figured out how to bombard this with energy, which created, they bombarded this. Actually, that's what it was. They started this chain reaction which released energy in the form of light and heat. What was missing? Light and heat. Did the uranium-235, this mass, did any of it exist after this explosion happened? No. The mass disappeared. The mass disappeared and was turned back into light and heat, which eventually dissipated. And so whatever this mass was, no longer exists. In reality, this mass was turned back into the energy. This mass was turned back into the energy from which it was formed, the dark matter. Science knows this. They've experimented on it. They can make it happen. And when you understand how close we're getting to the process called fusion, which is how this sun works, according to their understanding, not only will you be scared, you should be, but you'll understand how technology and understanding how these greatest life forms that exist in this world, in the universe, humans, find these things out and start experimenting with them. They're experimenting with these things. So somehow this earth was created through some process. Religions call it God, which is foolish. They take that on faith. Science called the Big Bang. But what do they also do? They also take that on faith. Okay? To most people on earth, this makes more sense. Yeah, you get 3 stars. Only to a few people does this make more sense. But if the real truth had to choose, the real truth, things as they really are, wouldn't choose either. No, it wouldn't. The real truth, you talk to a true messenger about how God created it, then he's got to be able to explain that. And did God use a Big Bang to create it all? And that's what some religious people believe. That's what they believe. If God created the Big Bang, it put everything in motion, then how did God do it? What did God do? How did this earth form? Well, when you understand the Big Bang Theory, this just happened to happen. The sun, this creation of the sun happened to happen, and it spun around. However, this is how they believe. There's a helium and hydrogen. It spun around inside here in the dark matter. Some shot off here and created this cooling earth. It created it cool. Matter was sent out from the sun, and the matter became the planets. Let me tell you why that makes no sense. It does make no sense because it's not true. Inside the earth is the outer parts of the core just solidified, that's why we have volcanoes. Remember the volcano? Well, that solidified there, and then it created the land masses and the earth and then all the atmosphere and everything else. Okay? So why aren't we observing this? How did this happen? How did all this happen? Let me tell you what science is going to understand in the near future, because nothing is standing in the way of human beings upon this earth knowing this knowledge. Humans are going to finally figure out how fusion began in dark matter. How dark matter, where there wasn't nothing, how to create a new sun. To go out in space where there's not a sun and do what? This. They're going to be able to pinpoint what they need to do to dark matter, to energy, to create mass, to create a new earth, new moon, new planet. They're going to understand that. Science is first. Science is going to understand this first. First, to realize, look, We know how this was done. Then religion will follow and say, well, that's because God did it that way, so it makes sense. God used science to do everything. Now we understand this mystery of God, of how God did this, how God created the earth and the sun first. Once humans, scientists can do it, then religious people are automatically going to say, ha ha, you've just proved that God can do it. Now you figured out how God can do it. And so what scientists don't understand is the more technology they have, the greater the faith of religious people grows. Yeah, believe it or not, it does. The more they have faith in God, they do not want to say that, well, now that man can create things, now that human beings, a human can go out there in the vastness of space and dark matter and create something completely new that wasn't there before, this negates the idea that it all just happened per chance because there was a big bang and then things just spun off and started doing these things. Okay? All this is going to come in the future. So what difference is it going to make? Not much, unless somebody can explain to you how humans evolved the way they are and how their brains work. I'm going to explain that to you now. I'm going to use it by a picture I found on the internet. Let me go to this, find this picture here. Whoops. Hold on, folks. I'm going to go to this picture I found in the universe. I'm going to help you to understand not only the universe, but I'm going to help you understand you in a way that's never been explained before. Okay? And nobody's ever been able to explain that. And it'll never be explained to you except if you're listening to a true messenger. Here's what some envision that the galaxies look like in our brain cells. This is what they envision, folks. Look at the similarities. I'm going to teach you now the best way I can, and I hope that those who are watching can please let me know that this makes sense. I'm going to explain now. Here's a human being, a human mind, okay? And here are just worlds. Suns, moons, planets, solar systems, whatever matter is out there. Okay? Suns, planets, moons. Most planets have a core. Some satellites or moons and others don't have a core. And moon don't have a core that creates energy. And we can say asteroids or anything, any matter in space. Let's just make this an asteroid. Okay, asteroids. So, understand this, folks. This is very important. In order for electromagnetic, in order for any electromagnetic field, which science knows exists in many places, to exist, electrons, or the basis of electrons are what? Dark matter. Electrons must be present, and most importantly, moving, doing something, must be moving. When you have electrons and they're moving in a certain direction, for example, here you go. Here is your hydrogen atom. Here's the nucleus, where you know, according to science, their ideas, which, okay, you have one proton and one neutron right here in the center here, and you have one electron. These electrons are moving. This electrons are moving. It's moving. Thus creates an atmosphere or a magnetic energy magnetism. This movement of this energy causes a magnetic situation to occur, which attracts and repels other electrons. So when this hydrogen atom attracts another hydrogen atom and then attracts a oxygen atom, an oxygen atom, which actually has more electrons, 8 instead of just 1, it forms water. It forms an actual mass of something. However, before water in this mass, which is called a molecule, can form, this mass of hydrogen and this mass of oxygen had to form first. In other words, electrons had to move. They had to move somehow in some way in order to, they have to be first be present and then move in a way to create these things. So, let me get rid of these things again so I can do it right. We're going to say this is human creation. This is the human brain, but we're going to explain it just humans, okay? And this is a mass star, which is sun, planets, anything that's a mass out there, anything, etc. Okay? This is what we're seeing here. What is this? In your brain cells as a human being, again, let's put your brain here, that you can see, smell, taste, hear, and then, of course, touch, with skin on your body, these things. What causes this? And what causes a human creation and human, not only human creation, but existence, consciousness, creation and consciousness. The same thing that creates a human and that human's consciousness creates the stars, planets, etc. And what is that, class? Not only the presence, but the movement of electrons. The movement of electrons cause certain things to happen. It causes your body to be made mostly of carbon. Carbon, actually, according to science, you would understand, it has 6. It has 6 protons, 6 electrons, I think that's 6. 6 electrons and 6 neutrons. There's wide varieties of this, but simply it's the movement of electrons in a certain way that attach themselves to other electrons and create your body. That's all it is. The movement of electrons. So what's consciousness? What is consciousness? Consciousness is the movements of electrons between the environment in which you can be found, in other words, Earth, and your brain. And they can only get in there. Electrons cannot enter your brain. This is your brain. Unless they come through one of your senses, through your ears, through your mouth, through your nose, through your eyes, and through your touch. Electrons, the movement of electrons, you need these orifices or these structures of molecules, skin molecules, the olfactory molecules, smell, sight, vision, taste. Let's use this. You need skin molecules to move electrons from the environment to your brain. That's all it is. Okay, let's get rid of this because now I'm going to talk about experience. Because this is what science has proven, and they're pretty correct. Here is a newborn baby. Born, swaddling clothes, laid in a manger. This is a baby, infant. As that baby's body is developing inside this baby's womb, which the only way that humans know how to do it now is, from a mother, inside the womb of a mother. Well, that'll all change sometime. But as this infant is growing inside the womb, brain cells are developing. Brain cells are developing inside this baby's brain. Those brain cells cannot develop without movement, without energy causing something to move inside the mother's womb at this point to allow the creation of molecules, of neurons. Brain cells are otherwise known as neurons. Okay, follow me? Follow me? I think you can. This would not occur without a mother, what we call a mother. A human being who has the ability to pass to what? This human mother, and it can be anyone, we don't care about this dysphoria thing, a person who can have a baby, whatever. But this mother here is the person, is the conduit for the energy from the environment to come through her senses in some way and then create this movement of electrons that creates this baby's body and this baby's this brain. That's why this fetus, as it's growing, is unconscious. It has not the ability. Consciousness means that you have the ability to bring in electrons, the movement of electrons from an environment yourself goes in here. When you're born, that's what happens. But until you're born, until your body comes out of the mother's womb or the mother's vagina and you become conscious, the only way that energy, electrons, the movement of electrons can occur is through your mother, through this way. And here's the problem with the way that humans are created. Because this infant's brain here, this is the brain, is part of mom's and part of dad's, a male and a female. Mom's, dad's, this is that kid's brain. And it's a picture. It's actually a blueprint. It's actually construction because this mother's, when she takes in electrons from her environment, she begins this process of developing a new body inside of her. It takes blueprints. This is the cell. This is the mother's cell, single cell, and this is the dad's sperm. This is how it's done. These are blueprints. This goes in here. This starts to divide once that sperm hits it. And this baby's brain is part mom and part dad. Now, there's going to be a problem with this, and you're going to see it as I go on to explain the brain. This is not how advanced humans do this. They do not. The advanced human beings take this person out of the whole equation, and they create a brain. They create a brain. When you understand how advanced people are created, they create a brain that doesn't have this. The brain is ready and prepared, but the brain is prepared in such a way, in other words, through advanced technology, okay, there is no passing on from a mother or father of DNA or patterns or anything else. Advanced technology in an advanced human's brain, what it does, let's see again here, these are the five senses. The advanced human's brain, it creates the capacity to interact, to have the electrons from an environment start to move from the environment into the brain, and then it starts to affect this. Okay? So, when a newborn infant is born, it is relatively known correctly that brain cells, which we call neurons, are grow. And they continue to grow. They continue to grow until this infant becomes what the world will see as an adult. And they begin to grow. And when I say grow, I don't mean in number. Because we're going to talk about a all this. They grow in number up to adult. They say about the age 25 years is what science assumes. Brain cells stop growing. Now, if you go around and talk to people on this earth, you'd think, geez, I think their brain cells stopped growing when they were 4. They stop growing in number. In number. They stop growing. But obviously, this new, okay, let's go here. Let's get rid of these. Let's go to an adult now. This is an adult human. This is an adult. And they have a fully developed brain where they have a certain number of brain cells. A certain number of brain cells. And that's what you see here. You see these brain cells. That's what you're seeing, basically, an artist's conception, which is pretty close. You see all these different brain cells here in an adult brain. Let's get rid of this so you can see it. Okay? So, what happens? What creates consciousness and experience? And experience. We already know that. We know that consciousness occurs when there's some sort of outside energy affecting these brain cells that are already there. These brain cells that have reproduced themselves and become what they are, this adult, somehow energy is getting into these brain cells, each of these brain cells. As this consciousness or this experience happens, do the number of brain cells increase? No, they don't. But let me give you a basic picture of a brain cell. And this is a bunch of brain cells as they would see it. Let's call this a neuron. Okay? What a neuron has, and they're very limited in human beings, especially in mortal human beings. Understand this, there's a difference. This is a brain cell. And there's all kinds of these brain cells in your brain. And what is their purpose? I just said that when you have an advanced community of people creating new bodies, they'll create these brain cells. They'll know how to create these brain cells that don't have any connections in them. Because guess what, guess what you have now? You have brain cells that have your mom and dad's experience in them. Because this is how experience happens. When energy comes in and hits this brain cell, electrons, when the electrons, when they move from the environment into your brain, and they hit this brain, this cell right here, it expands. It makes what science calls as a dendrite. That's what happens. When any time that electrons from the environment, or electrons, just as they are in their basic form, they hit the cell grows stems, if you may. They grow stems, which are called dendrites. So you have all these cells, and it depends on their function, we're growing these dendrites, these trees. So in a mortal body, as they're currently created, you have a whole lot of brain cells that are actual pictures of your mom's and your dad's experiences. They're right there. So you're like, gee, thanks, Mom. For example, in my personal case, my mother has a dendrite, a series of dendrites in her brain that causes that she cannot crease a piece of paper with her fingers. She just cannot do it. It is the most annoying, and me neither. I can't do it either. Now, I have siblings that can from the same mother and the same father, but I can't. So I share these dendrites, this experience that my mom had. Now, whether it was my mom's experience or her parents' experience, someone in my past passed on this picture of brain cells. So when my brain developed inside my mother, I already had experiences in there that weren't my own. That's right. They're not my experiences. They're my mother's experiences or my dad's experiences. Thanks a lot, right? This is not how an advanced human being brain is created. There are no dendrites. They're just a series of cells in that advanced brain. And then as that human being is brought into the environment where there is no limitation or restraint of the outside environment, allowing the electrons from the environment to flow through to that brain through the senses, ears, eyes, ears, everything, then this advanced human person begins their brain, their new brain cells create these dendrites. Okay? Now, when you have an experience, depending on what the experience is and the amount of electrons that come into your brain from the outside environment, these affect your brain cells, which then create what's called an electrical field right here, called a synapse, what they call it. So let me explain something to you. Okay. Here I get up in the morning and I have eggs, smell them. Here's my brain cells. I'm making this very simple. And toast and eggs for my breakfast. Yeah. There it is. Eggs, toast, right there. My breakfast. My brain recognizes this as that experience that I had. So here I am going throughout my day, creating other dendrites, creating other things, and something happens. Something happens with, now this is eating breakfast. This is eating breakfast. Eating breakfast. This is just driving along in the street, having a different experience on the road. But all of a sudden, there's a connection made here. There's a connection made between these two. And I remember eating what I had for breakfast. The only way that while I'm driving that I can remember what I had for breakfast is for there to be an energy, some sort of energy that passes, that connects these two. Okay, it's kind of like this. Cell one, brain cell, eating breakfast. Brain cell and all the dendrites that I put in there as the experience, the energy from the smell of the bacon, taste of the eggs, whatever. Okay, this is eating. This is driving. I'm creating these continual experiences in my brain just simply this way. Okay, so while driving, I am never going to be able to remember this eating experience unless something takes place in this area here, what's called synapses, that causes this experience to unite with this one, okay, or in other words, to remember this. So there's a temporary bridge created between the two brain dendrites that allows me to remember what I ate that morning, this temporary bridge. This is called a thought. A thought. Something in my brain, somehow energy in my brain that's not even in my environment. Not in my environment at all. Nobody told me. There was nothing in my environment that told me to make this connection except my own mind. So I had this thought, what did I have for breakfast? And that's a little bit more complicated how while driving in this experience, this connection is made temporarily. And when you're done thinking about what you ate, this goes away. This is a temporary thought. This is a temporary thing. This temporary connection between you driving and you eating is temporary. It's not eternal. In other words, you must force this somehow, and I can explain that too. You force this synapses or this energy, this bridge to take place between the two, because that's all you're doing. Anytime you remember anything, anytime. Jeff Wayne's says, is that why certain songs trigger memories? Absolutely. whatever song you heard or saw while you're eating that. Remember, though, here you are. Let's go with his. You're learning a song. You're hearing a song. So you're hearing a song at the right now. While you're doing that, your brain is creating these dendrites. The tree of life. These trees, these stems. You're hearing it. But there's other things going on during the experience. So this is the experience overall. There's other things occurring. You might be eating something while you're hearing this song. You might be thinking about another person and remembering another person. Here's your girlfriend. Here's your girlfriend, Jeff, back in the 3rd grade. You remember seeing this, reading this song, but there's the memory. There's the memory cells of your girlfriend, right? As you're having the experience of eating, if you create this bond and this segue between hearing the song and thinking about your girlfriend, you have, by your free will, created this bridge of energy. You've created this bridge of energy. Now, this bridge can be either temporary or eternal, depending on what it is and how it affected you. Can you remember your girlfriend's name back in the 3rd grade? Yet when you now hear this same song, when you hear this song, your brain automatically thinks about this girlfriend. Automatically. That means that this bond, this energy, this bridge that you created is eternal or more fixed and not temporary. So tell me about your girlfriend in the 2nd grade. Tell me about what you ate 2 years ago on this date. Obviously, what you ate 2 years ago, your girlfriend, this is your girlfriend from the 6th grade. You also have a brain cell in there that has your girlfriend from the 3rd grade. But you can't remember her. As this song plays, there's no connection there. You can't remember her. And then you're driving along saying, I'm trying to figure out, trying to remember who my 3rd grade girlfriend was. Here you're driving, and you can't make this connection. You can't quite make this connection. It's void. You can't make it. Okay? So, hope all this makes sense. This is how humans create consciousness. This is what they do. This is what they do. Here's the deal, folks. I want you to listen carefully. Let me erase some of this stuff here. Oops. Let's go and let's create a dream world. Let's dream for a moment and see what's happening. Let's dream. Whoops. I'm getting rid of all this. Are you guys following this? I hope this is making sense. I'm getting you. I'm laying a foundation of understanding that you're never going to forget. Okay? Let's talk about dreams. Let's talk about a dream experience. Here's all these brain cells that you have. Here's all these dendrites. Okay, as you had these experiences, they created specific stems that when the energy hit it, of your sensories, what you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, it creates this. It causes that cell to actually create these stems, these what are called dendrites. That's what it does. Okay? All these things. So, now let's talk about your dreams. So you have all these things in here that come from your environment. But while you're in your conscious environment, but while you're asleep and you're dreaming, you're not conscious. You're not conscious. But somehow your brain takes all these different experiences and connects them, begins to connect them together. Somehow. This connection's being made involuntarily. And all of a sudden, you got mom's experience, dad's experience, grandpa's experience, and your experience that you just had yesterday, all coming together without any energy hitting your brain, coming in from the environment because you're asleep. You're in this environment and you're creating an experience, a dream experience. You're creating this. So these experiences as you dream, mom's experience, grandpa's experience, dad's experience, your experience, and you can have many of them, they're creating this connection temporarily. It's a temporary connection between them. And I'm going to try to explain that, why that happens. Okay. This temporary connection happens while you're dreaming, and you have these convoluted experiences that aren't real because there is no energy entering your brain when you're having a dream. There's no energy from the environment. But the energy that's already exists in your brain, it actually is creating these dreams. Involuntarily, it creates these dreams. And all of a sudden, without any energy coming from your environment, you're creating experiences in a dream world, and even a world that's not even real. And you're creating these things. Okay? But because of how they're created, these are all temporary bridges with memories, temporary bonds. And that's why you can't remember dreams very much. Some of them you can, depending on the dream. But these bonds here that are made between the experiences, between the two neurons, they're just temporary. But the question remains, why did they occur when you're unconscious? Why did they occur without you using any conscious energy to have them? Remember, when you have a dream, you are not bringing any energy in to your brain from the outside environment. You're just not. You're not conscious. But what your dreams are doing is creating a reality based on what's already there. It's a temporary thing, and that's why you can't remember them. That's why they're not even that important. But they kind of are, because you got all these experiences in your brain, all these brain experiences, and you realize that somehow when these all connected, they're made a actual energy connection between them. Geez, Louise, and you, what does this mean? Penitent. Okay, but these are your dreams. This is involuntary. This is subconscious, but this happens. All this happens because of the balance of energy that is consistent with your brain. Your brain has a unique, consistent, individual balance of energy. When this balance of energy is off, your brain is going to compensate for that. Whether you took in too much energy from the environment that day, too much, or too little, for whatever reason, when you go to sleep, the balance of your brain's natural energy is off. It's off. Why do you think children dream? And they have these things, and you wonder, how the hell do you have these dreams? I used to have night terrors, as they were called. I used to not be conscious, run out into the living room. My dad and stepmom were screaming. My dad never understood. He said, oh, he must be watching shows or something. No, I wasn't doing anything. Yeah. Because of these experiences when my brain came back to me. Yeah. These experiences. Some of them from mom, some of them from dad. But there's just another thing. There's something else that we're leaving out from these dream experiences. Remember, in your mortal, very non-advanced brain, you're creating these experiences not by creating new cells, because your brain cells are already, the number you're going to have is generally the same. There's instances where older people can develop new brain cells, but generally when you're 25 years old, as they say, you'll start having all these, you have these experiences. You have this number of brain cells, that's all you have. But remember something, you took mom's, you took dad's, you had your own mom's experience. This come when you were born. These were passed on to you. And then you start having your own experiences when you're an infant and you start growing. You have your own experiences. But most of your brain is made up of mom and dad's. Okay? And grandpa's. Grandmas, great-grandpas. It's all passed on you. That's why this DNA passing on thing is not the proper way to create a human body. In advanced worlds, it's not done that way. Folks, in advanced worlds, there is no passed on blueprints from another imperfect human being from their brain, because the fact is you don't want to have anybody else's Experiences but your own. The moment that you take your first breath of life in an advanced world, you have a clean state and you begin to develop your own experiences. This is how it's supposed to be. This is why, okay? Because it's not that way. And you start having dreams and they're convoluted, or you start doing things, you can't crease a piece of paper, whatever it is, you can blame someone else. Blame mom, dad, grandpa, whoever passed on those. So who in their right mind would want to have these experiences from somebody else outside of their own world passed on to them? Nobody in their right mind would. And that's not how it's done in an advanced human society. Advanced human society, from the moment you take your first breath with that body, whatever planet that's on, you begin from that moment forth to have your own experiences and nobody else's. That's how it's set up. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. These dendrites. Yeah. But there's something else. There's something else that adds to this. See, your brain right here is a mortal brain. Let's say, for want of just my ability to explain this, your mortal brain, let's say that your mortal brain, and this, just go with me, was 100 billion cells in it. Brain cells. How many billions of brain cells do you actually have? How many brain cells do you have? Here's a mystery that science is kind of leaning towards, but let me explain it. The number of brain cells that you have inside your mortal brain is inconsistent with the galaxy and the number of planets that exist in the galaxy where you live. Here's Earth. Here's the Milky Way galaxy. I'm talking about a normal Milky Way galaxy. I'm talking about a normal, especially an advanced human who's properly made. Got to remember, according to the religious thing, God came down, created the earth. Let's put man in our own image. An advanced human brain, an advanced human's brain. Here comes that mystery, which science will finally one day, I doubt they will, but when you're dead, you'll understand it. Advanced human brain has the exact number of neurons, which are brain cells, as there are planets in the galaxy in which you exist. In the galaxy in which you exist. Here's the Milky Way galaxy. So let's say that there's 100 billion. I think they say there's more than that. It doesn't matter. Let's use a number. There's 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy, but the only planets that have humans on them. If it's not a planet that has human beings on it, human experience, then it doesn't count. But when you were created as a newly created human being in this galaxy right here, your brain is going to be given. They're going to allow you in your advanced brain to have the exact number of neurons that correspond with the human planet, the planets upon which humans are having experience. You're going to have the exact same number. The exact number. You see? Why is that? And what is this thing here? This what do they call it? They call it a dark hole. Well, what is this incredible amount of energy that seems to be sucking everything into it, all this? All right, let's get rid of this so you understand. Here's the galaxies. Here's your brain cells. When you have a transition of energy, when energy in its simplest form transitions in any way or creates movement, when it creates movement, it does the same thing in all situations, whether in a brain or whether in the formation of a planet or the formation of a galaxy. That's what happens. When energy moves upon dark matter, when the Spirit of God moves upon the waters, that movement creates the same thing. It's the same type of movement. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. So what you have, and let me get another picture. I hope this is making sense. I'm going to give you, you're not done yet, folks. We get another picture up here that I use. Okay, this is a picture. This is what people would think is the idea of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, let's do this. Let me share with you a mystery that's important to understand. Every single one of these lights that are around here is a sun. Around that sun, most of them, not all, but most of them, 99.999% of them, there are human beings living in that planetary system. Okay? Let's say there's a new planet created somewhere here. A new planet that's created in this galaxy. And let's call this, so it's one of a better term so you can understand, the Milky Way galaxy, which is something, nobody's ever observed the Milky Way galaxy. It's all theory. But this is pretty good. When you understand the real truth about human consciousness and how dark matter is used by humans, because humans are the only ones that care how it's used. And you can't, nothing will happen in the space of time throughout the universe without humans. Sorry, science, sorry, everybody. And it's not God's. You can do it when you have the right knowledge and you're allowed to do that. Here's your Milky Way galaxy and it's consistent. Let's call it, I don't know how many billions of planets. What are they? Danya! Love it, I'm getting there, girl. So our advanced brains can constantly expand. I love it. You're getting it. So that means that I'm laying a foundation that you're going to understand. Okay? So, here you go. I've explained this before, that your actual advanced self was created for a certain purpose. So let's call this new planet here. This is a new planet that was created. It's created in a vortex, if I may, this being a vortex. It's creating this vortex of energy that's spinning around here with a great amount of energy that culminates in this, what science says is a dark hole where energy can't escape. That's what they think. And in some ways, they got a great idea. Because can you imagine all the energy of people thinking? There's trillions, there's literally billions. How many planets do they say? Somebody look that up, what science thinks. Science doesn't know. They have no way of knowing because they can't see the Milky Way galaxy. We're here on this Earth. Let's call this planet right here Earth. This would be our sun. And it's Earth. How do we observe this? This is our planetary system. This is our solar system. So this is our solar system right here. We have to go way beyond our solar system and look back to see the Milky Way galaxy where we live. And nobody's ever been able to do that. They cannot. Gosh, Tanya, I could just give you a big kiss because you're right on the money. We'll get to that. Okay? Because at least you're showing me that you're doing it. You're explaining it. They're getting it. They're starting to think. Okay? So, let's get rid of all this here. Understand that this is just a conception. This is a visualization, but it has some truth to it. Because what they can actually see out there, they visualize, they're not actual pictures that they think they are. They can see other galaxies. Of all this thing, of this dark, this center where there's this black hole in the middle of all these different galaxies with tons of planets going around. Let's see. Doesn't matter, they say Milky Way has an average between 800 billion and 3.2 trillion, whatever it is. But each one of these planets in this galaxy, when a body is created for a new person that belongs to this galaxy, a new human body is created. The creators of that body know exactly what this number of planets are, where humans inhabit them. They know the number of planets to the exact number. They create this new advanced human's brain with this exact number of neurons. But there's no experience there. There's no experience yet. They give them the exact number. Your advanced brain is giving this exact number as the planetary systems in which in the galaxy where you have a body created for you. It's important. It's important to understand that. Very important. Because what this does when you're a newly created advanced human being in this galaxy, when you are given this amount of neurons in your newly created brain, it gives you the capacity to connect to any one of these planets that you want to experience something there. In other words, this planet right here, whatever's going on there, you have a neuron. You ready for this, folks? You have a dendrite. Once you want to have an experience, a dendrite grows on this brain cell to allow you the energy to pass from this brain to this experience here, which is a temporary energy, because while your brain's right here. But with the technology and when you understand how it all works, this is done without space and time. You automatically can connect to anything that's going on here, know what's going on that planet. It wouldn't be fair if someone created your new advanced body and your advanced body only had a couple neurons in it, because then you could only, realistically, according to science, according to reality, you can only connect to a couple planets. But when a newly created body as an advanced human being is created properly, they're able to connect to any of these properly. Any of these. With this connection, this creates a vast amount, this vortex of energy. Woo, of all these people having all these experiences. Yes, that ends in what, folks? And what does science believe? Or science thinks about this black hole, this idea that, holy smokes, what creates this incredible amount of energy? All you would need to do to prove to the scientists what a black hole really is this. Let's give me another. Let me see if I have a picture of a whole bunch of galaxies. Hold on with me, folks. And I think you guys are starting to get the idea of how scientists don't want to take me on. They don't want us to talk about these type of things with a guy like me. They just don't. Let me see if I can see a universe here. I thought I had a picture somewhere. Yeah, let's take this one. Let's open this one. See if this one will work. I think this might work. Stop sharing. Yeah, I'm not done yet. Just wait. Just wait, dear friends. Those who care, those who want to know, those who really, really care and want to know the real truth about how things really are, why things are the way they are. Okay, let's look at this. So, this is what science observes. They observe this because they don't know any other way to observe it, if I may do it that way. Right here in this center here, science observes from its observations of the way, but remember, their observations are all predicated upon the tools, the advancement of their knowledge and tools that they have. But here's this hole. There's this black hole. This black hole that they think is having all this energy, sucking all this energy in, because it actually is. It's caused, they can observe not only the universe expanding, and we'll get to that, Tanya, in just a minute, but they observed energy being sucked into this black hole when really it's not getting sucked in. So if you could properly observe this black hole in the center of a galaxy, if you could properly observe it, folks, this is what you'd see. You could look through it and see other galaxies on the other side. So, ready? Let's get it right. Science, would you just listen? Just listen to me. I'll help you. I'll help you. Here we are in a spaceship. Here's a spaceship here with its spaceship. And we're observing this galaxy right here from this angle. And we see that dark hole. But what if we're in a spaceship here on the other side of that dark hole, in a spaceship here, and we're observing it from the other side, or from this angle, or from this angle? We're observing this galaxy from these different angles. We're still going to see this. We're still going to see this from all angles. And that's what is that going to tell us? Now, of course, the Human Reality book couldn't say all these things the way that they were supposed to be. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now that on any way you view this, from any direction that you view any galaxy in this universe, you will see that dark center of a galaxy. And you will see that you're on the other side, and there's obviously nothing being sucked into this. But it's the energy formation and this fluctuation of energy that's caused from the energy that is created, the energy that is created from this solar system. Whatever creates the energy, whatever is acting upon dark matter and causing electrons to move. When electrons move, they create a magnetic field. And when these electrons are moving and something is causing the electrons to create worlds or have new experiences on the brains of all the trillions of people that exist in this galaxy, this energy is moving and it's attracted to this center here. Yeah. That's the beauty of this. So let's talk about Tanya's incredible question. I appreciate that, sis. I appreciate you coming up with an incredible question. Let me solve it for you. Here's your mortal brain. This is you as a mortal. This is you as an advanced human. Somebody look up and give me the number there. How many cells there are in the human body? How many do they think? How many billions of cells are there in the human body? What does a person say? Okay? How many cells are there in the human body? I got to get out of here. Shoot, I brought something up and it's not allowing me to share it right. Okay? So, I'll do it. How many cells are there in the human body? 37.2 trillion cells. 37.2 trillion cells in your body. Okay? Oh, where am I at? Go back here to this. Let's get back here to this picture. I like this one. Okay? So here you are. You're a human being. And when you're born here, as a mortal, your mortal body has 32 trillion. Let's just round it up. According to science, then they're guesstimating 30 trillion cells make up your body, right? But there's only what? 300 billion brain cells? How many brain cells are there? 200 billion brain cells. What a discrepancy. What a discrepancy between these 300 trillion cells that make up your body and your brain. You only have 200 billion. Let me tell you something, folks. When you have an advanced human body, the exact number of cells that you have in this body, the exact number of neurons you have in your brain. And why is that? With that exact number being consistent and relevant, guess what happens? You can control this body and know every aspect of it. Your brain is very well aware of every cell in your body and what it can do and what it does. That's the difference between an advanced human being, a god, advanced human, and a mortal. Okay? Yeah. So, why don't you ask a very specific and a tool question? When we have experiences on this earth, this is our earthly brain, okay? Does our brain expand? Does our brain expand? Does it expand? Does it get bigger? Now, this is what science fiction, they see these incredibly weird-ass aliens with these big-ass brains and big eyes, and they have these big brains because they think that that's what happens. They think that the smarter you are, the more brain cells you have, the larger your brain, this brain's going to grow. So this is going to grow to accommodate all these incredible cells. What did I just tell you? I just told you that the moment you're born and when your body advances to its supreme, its adult stage, when it's in its adult stage, it has a certain number of cells, of neurons in its adult stage. Your mortal brain only has a certain number, and that doesn't increase in some ways, but little. It doesn't increase, so your brain doesn't get any bigger. But what happens is all of these cells, let's go back to this picture. Okay, let's go back here and erase this. Yeah, here we go. We can go to this picture. I think this will be a better one. Oh, where is it at? There it is. Hold on, folks. Okay, I'm going to get to you, Tanya. Hold on. I'll get to your question. It's an awesome one, by the way. Because you're figuring things out. It's helping me to understand. Gosh, they're getting it. I'm explaining this right. Awesome. So here's all your brain cells here. Your brain cells are the same number. So you're an adult. Tanya, talking to Tanya, what are you, an adult of what, 40 years, 42 years, whatever you are? So you're an adult, and you have a finite number of cells, number of brain cells, number of these brain cells. You have a finite number. Therefore, with that finite number, obviously, your brain isn't going to expand. It's not going to expand. Okay, you're going to have, what do they say? Monica says, oh, okay, Tanya is a 45-year-old female adult. Female. I don't know if you identify as anything else, but a 45-year female adult. So you have a finite number of brain cells in your brain. So what is experience? Experience is these brain cells having more brain cells. The experience that you have is energy from the environment acting on the brain cells that you already have and creating dendrites, these certain dendrites. But what sucks is when you were born into this world, you didn't have 86 billion. So let's say that Tanya has 86 billion brain cells now as a 45-year-old female. You're not going to get any more, and you're going to destroy some through stupid things. You're going to destroy some of your cells. But the fact is, you have all these brain cells that when you were, so if science could count the number of brain cells when Tanya was an infant, she had a certain number. But once she grew and grew and grew and grew, and her brain grew, did your head grow? Yes, it grew to accommodate the number of brain cells that you had. But then your head stopped growing. Thank God. What would you look like if it didn't? But when you were born as an infant, I just told you, you had dad and mom's already established dendrites in your brain. And then you created your own as you went about through your life experience. But your head never got any bigger. Your head didn't. All that happened was you had more connections between these neurons. These connections became more and more and more and more. Okay? So here's Tanya's connections with her brain cells. These are the ones that Tanya has. She's having all these experiences as she goes about in her life through her brain, through her senses. All these different experiences are happening to this 45-year-old person. Okay? So, this is Tanya's experiences here. And this is her first date, her first love. Let's call this her first love. And she might remember that. Her first kiss, whatever it was for Nami, or what she had for breakfast today. Today's breakfast. Each one of those experiences, energy came in from your environment and caused a cell, a neuron in your brain to create, actually divide in a way. Remember this? This energy was divided in a way to create a new mass, or in other words, a new experience. So these are all Tanya's experiences she has in her head. This is Tanya as a mortal, of course. Okay? She has all these different experiences that she has based on the energy that's coming through her head and creating these specific dendrites. So now let's take Tanya into the future where she's 95. And let's say she doesn't have a healthy brain. Let's say Alzheimer's hits. And what happens? These cells, brain cells, deteriorate along with their connections. That's right. She's no longer able to function the same. She doesn't remember anything. They all are erased. First love, what she ate yesterday, what she ate 10 minutes ago. Her brain no longer has the capacity because of the destruction of her mortal brain cells. No matter what energy is coming into her brain, she is not the same person she was when she was 45. Now, a healthy brain at 95 might still maintain some semblance of normalcy. It can if you eat the right foods, if you do the right thing. Your brain's going to have these. You're going to continue to remember these things. Most older people can remember things long ago that they can't remember. Okay, here's a long ago memory. This is Tanya's first kiss. Okay? Here's Tanya's brain cell that has the experience of what she ate 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago, she just ate it. 10 minutes ago, she ate something. Eating. Why is it that Tanya can recall this as a 95-year-old and not this? Why? Because the older she gets, her brain cells start to deteriorate. So when she has a new experience like eating breakfast 10 minutes ago, the dendrites that are creating by that are being created by a deteriorated old cell that it doesn't function right. Doesn't function right, so she can't remember what she ate 10 minutes ago, yet this is already established. This event that she had long time ago when she was whatever age Tanya was, when she had her first kiss, it's still there. She can recall that. Unless Alzheimer's comes in there, when Alzheimer's come in, they all break down. This is your mortal brain. This is a mortal brain that's caused from aging. When you age. But what happens if you didn't age? What happens if Tanya got to the age of 22 and she didn't age? No aging. Then if she doesn't age, all of those brain cells that she has inside of her brain that don't have experiences attached to them, if that's the best way to say it, the dendrites are simply experiences attached to them. They don't have experiences attached to them. She's able to continue to create new dendrites that she can remember. Yeah. But unfortunately, as she lives on this earth, the way that bodies are created, she has to also remember her father's and her mother's experiences, which, don't want to hear those. But if she has no aging, all of her brain cells that are in her brain are going to continue to do what they're supposed to do. They're going to be manipulated, or they're going to be the cause and effect of energy entering into her brain from her senses is going to cause these brain cells to create new experiences, and she'll be able to remember them a lot. An advanced human body does not age. So, let's get to this. What is the advanced human brain? So now let's talk about the advanced brain. Not Tanya's brain, because she's a mortal woman. We're talking about an advanced human who's not gendered. They can choose that if they'd like, but they're not. Advanced human's brain, and you have the exact number of cells in your brain as there are planetary, human, and habitable planets in the galaxy in which your body is created. You have that exact number, the exact number of those planets. It's incredible. Because if your body's created, you got to remember something. Not all galaxies are the same over here, folks. Not all galaxies are the same. You got galaxies that are little and big and old and new. You got all these different galaxies that have an incredibly different amount of planetary systems on there. of human experiences on there. But guess what? Tanya's true self chose the Milky Way galaxy. She chose the Milky Way galaxy because she knew that when a body is created for her on a planet in this Milky Way galaxy, she knew that her memories and her brain was going to be limited to this galaxy, to whatever experiences she could have in this galaxy. So in this galaxy, if there's 300 trillion, or I don't know how many, has whatever number of planets, human habitable planets where humans can have experiences, connect with the energy that flows. Had Tanya's true self been created in this other galaxy, in a bigger one with more planets, she would have to choose that for herself, because then she'd have to have a body created from the same materials that create this energy vortex of that galaxy. And that specific body is specific to this, to this energy patterns here. Okay? So, what happens? Here's her advanced brain over here. Tanya's advanced brain is having these incredible, she doesn't age. So she exists basically forever. She's an eternal being. And she exists basically forever. So the question is, does her head get bigger? I've already answered that. Because when she chose the Milky Way galaxy, she chose what size, how many brain cells that she needed to exist in that solar system. I'm sorry, in that galaxy. She already chose that. So it doesn't increase. It doesn't. But so do advanced human beings have bigger brains than normal humans? Absolutely not. Here's a mortal-sized brain. Here's an advanced brain. Wouldn't that be weird to see your advanced self in this big old huge brain? No. What's the difference between the two? The number of brain cells. The capacity to have experience. Yeah. The capacity to have experience. So part of the experience of an advanced human being, let's take, for example, using Tanya's true self. Tanya's true self here. This is Tanya's true self. This is her mortal self. Tanya knows this. She wants to connect to this brain here. But in the Milky Way galaxy, let's get back to this other picture. I think this will work better for what I'm going to explain now. This will help you to understand what's happening. Let's go back here. And let's get rid of this. I think you guys can see that. Let's talk about Tanya now and her brain. When Tanya chose this galaxy, this Milky Way galaxy, she knew exactly how many brain cells were going to be in her brain. And you can have a hell of a lot of brain cells in there. A hell of a lot. As an advanced human being. So here's Tanya. She sees this planet and says, that's where I want to be. I want a body created on this planet here. She's going to see that her head is the same size as most other people living in this galaxy. The exact same size. And that in order to live here in this galaxy, to experience everything there is to experience here, she needed the same number of brain cells in her head, in her advanced head, that would allow her to have an experience with any number or any one of these experiences, of these habitable, human habitable planets. She knows that. So she has enough brain cells she's created, and she knows now she can deal with all the advanced worlds here. But what's this Earth thing? What's this Earth thing she's connected to? What is this? Why is she connected to this Earth, and what's going on here? Because this Earth did not exist when she had her body Her advanced body was created for her to live in this galaxy. Earth didn't exist. It was created for a certain purpose. It was created so that Tanya's advanced self could connect to this earth experience temporarily, so that she could have that experience temporarily. This earth is different than all the advanced worlds up here. It was created for a specific purpose, so that temporarily Tanya could connect part of her brain to this experience to allow certain things to happen. I've explained what that was and why. Now, this is a new earth. This is a brand new planetary system that didn't exist when Tanya's true self decided this was a galaxy for their true self. And now she could connect all these other advanced worlds, but there's these temporary worlds out there that she can only connect to temporarily. She can connect any one of these, if she wants, to every single one of them in this galaxy eternally, but not to an earth temporarily. Thus, the same way that her mortal brain dreams, her true self is simply having a dream experience that is simply a temporary one. And here is where I'm going to lose all the religious people who don't want to understand this. When this disconnect is made, when this earth body here, when the body, the actual body on this earth that was created for this earth, when this experience ends, and this body ends, this experience right here in her advanced brain, in this person's advanced brain, ceases to exist. It no longer exists. It can't. Because if it would exist here, her brain would grow, keep growing. But it does not. She knew, or her true self, not a she, true self knew, but by connecting to this temporary experience here, it would play out in her brain, but it would never become a part of her eternal brain, her eternal nature. It never would. How do I prove that? Let me show you how I prove it, folks. Let me show you. Right here. Here's Tanya sitting on a toilet. She's sitting on a toilet, going to the bathroom. You know how many times on this earth experience that Tanya's true self sitting on a toilet, going to the bathroom or doing mundane things that don't mean nothing to anybody? Most of the things that she does, the times she sleeps, the experiences she has that don't mean anything. Why in the world would her true self want to create a dendrite in her true self's brain of Tanya sitting on a toilet? Because her true self doesn't need to go to the bathroom. So these dream experiences that are temporary dissolve and no longer become part of her eternal being nature. The only reason why she connected to this earth was to have an experience, a temporary experience, to prove something to herself, whatever that might be. Okay? Now Scott talks, does this experience come from the id part of her brain? No such thing. No such thing as id part, super ego part. No such thing. As I had it presented in such a way, the advanced human brain, super ego, id, this is the brain. This super ego, id, or ego, and id. No, these aren't different parts of the brain. They're all one. This is all one. If you want to become one with God, you have to become one with God. Your id has to become one with your superego. Your id has to become one with your ego. It all has to be one. It's not a part of your brain. It's what I'm going to explain next week as the Spirit of Christ, or becoming one with God. I know your minds are probably going, holy macaroni. But that's all I want to give you today. Did you learn some things? Is this not Who is this? Not who or what.